Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat. The show is about to start. Hey guys, what's up? This is Phoebe.
And this is Mike.
You're listening to the Mike and Phoebe Show. And today's guest, we're speaking with Jason Tang. Jason is the development manager at Riverside County Workforce Development. We met Jason a few weeks ago at the City of Hemet Economic Development Summit, as he is one of the panelists there. We're so excited to have him on our podcast today. Welcome, Jason.
Yeah, welcome.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, we're so excited to chat with you and to find out what is Riverside County Workforce Development. Now, before we go into that, Jason serves as the Workforce Development Manager at Riverside County Workforce Development, overseeing the business and community career services team. The mission at Riverside County Workforce Development is to build our local workforce by nurturing strong industry partnerships and preparing individuals with the necessary training and skills required to thrive in today's active job market. Jason has served in multiple roles during his almost 10-year career at Riverside County, from housing to communications, economic development, and now workforce development for the last 5 years. Jason has been married for 21 years and has 4 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, a turtle, and 10 chickens.
Wow. He's got a little farm over there.
You know, those eggs, they're expensive right now, so those chickens come in handy.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you sent in your bio, Jason, and I read it, I said, I saw all the dogs, cats. We have a couple of cats too. And, but chickens, you know, we have a handful of chickens just recently somehow just migrated over from our neighbor's yard. And boy, that caught Mike's attention. He was like all ears. Chickens.
Chicken.
It's a fun time. My wife loves having them.
Oh,
yeah, very good.
That's awesome. So now let's find out, what is workforce development?
Yeah, you know, that's funny, because that's probably the one question I get a lot of when I tell people, like, oh, yeah, where do you work? I'm like, oh, I work for Riverside County. I'm like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I work for workforce development. And then people are like, what is that? And so, you know, workforce development is one of those unknowns that we're trying to make not unknown, because what we do is we help individuals and we help businesses. So we're serving anyone from, you know, youth 16 to 24, any adults 18 and over. But a lot of people don't know about our other side, which is our business services side, where we go out and we work with the businesses and to see if we can connect some of our job seekers or hidden talent within the county to businesses that are in the business community. So, you know, we kind of look at ourselves like, hey, you're either going into a pipeline or you're coming out of the pipe, kind of like Super Mario, right? You go into those green pipes and then you pop out the other side. Well, that green pipe maybe represents training of some sort. So you're either getting ready to go into training or you're coming out of training and we're looking to place you into work. And so we have different programs, services, and resources that kind of fit all those functions to get individuals ready for work and for businesses to grab those individuals and put them to work.
Okay. So any kind of individuals can sign up, and are there any fees associated with this?
Yeah, no fees. We're federally funded. We also have a lot of different special grants through philanthropy or other organizations that may be donating money. So we have different ways of funding our programs, but the main part of it is federal funding. So we are taxpayer funded. So taxpayers are already paying into all the programs. So everything is free. All individuals are welcome to come and use our services. There is eligibility criteria for some of the programs, especially the ones that maybe we're paying for individuals to go into training. We're covering the training cost. Or maybe there are businesses that may be eligible for some of our reimbursement programs for wage reimbursements. There is eligibility factors for that. But there's a myriad of free resources still available to everybody who may be needing any type of assistance.
Very nice. Now, in my previous job, I worked for almost 10 years. I worked in behavioral health, and a lot of our members, not all of our members, all of our members, clients were eligible for our services as well. So some of them, you know, they may have come out of prison or jail just recently, and they were looking to get back into the workforce, have some training. And so we would help them with the resources. So this probably could have been one of the resources that we provided to them to help them get back in training, to get back into the workforce.
True.
For sure. I mean, that's exactly what we do. We're working with all populations of people, and whatever your barrier may be, whether, like you said, whether it's justice involved, or maybe there's physical or developmental disabilities, or any other gamut. We're here to help, and maybe we don't have the services for the immediate need, but we can also be a resource provider to connect you to partners like Behavioral Service, or DPSS, which is the Department of Public Social Services, or any of our other partners, to see how we can help in that immediate need, and then maybe get them going on the pathway to become employed in the future.
Very nice. That's awesome. And do all other counties have this kind of program available?
Yeah, there is definitely programs all over. There's different workforce boards. Some counties, like LA County, is huge, and so there's just not one workforce board in LA County. There's multiple. I think there's something like 8. Don't quote me on that, but there's quite a number of them that are able to serve the population. But in some way, shape, or form, there is I think over 500 different workforce boards across the entire United States of America that all do similar activities. I mean, things are different, of course, but they do very similar activities with the outcome that we kind of talked about, getting people employed. And we have lots of great programs that can help whatever the situation may be.
Very nice. So I know you spoke in general about how workforce development can help individuals. Do you want to go into a little bit of a detail specifically about these programs that you have available?
Yeah. So on the different two sides of the coin, we have what we call career services, and then we have on the other side employer services. So let me just go over career services real quick first. So when an individual is, maybe they were recently laid off, or they haven't been working for a while, or maybe they're even underemployed, meaning they're not making enough money, or maybe just working part-time, they can come into any of our workforce development centers, and we have 4 of them throughout the county: Moreno Valley, Riverside, Indio, and also in Hemet. And then we have a satellite office in Blythe. And then we have career coaches in the community as well in different sites, because we know the county is very large, and so our 4 workforce centers don't cover everything. And so we have career coaches that go to community centers or other public areas in partnerships, so that individuals that are in the community can come and see us instead of them having to come all the way to one of our workforce centers. So whether it's resume assistance, interview assistance, career planning, figuring out what they want to do, they can come and do an intake. We recommend that they call ahead, make an appointment. A career coach will reach out to them. They'll do their eligibility and intake, and then they may be qualified to receive up to $8,000 for a voucher to go receive training. So, for example, we've had, unfortunately, a lot of different businesses closed down for whatever reason in the county. Let's just say, 99-cent stores. That was nationwide, right? Hundreds of stores closed nationwide. So let's say an individual that was working retail now wanted to maybe become a medical assistant or a truck driver, or go into a welding program. Well, we now may be able to help pay for them to go get that training, right? Going into that pipeline when we talked about the training pipeline. And then after that training is done, they have those new skills, and then we want to go out and place them into employment. So the nice thing about that is that once they are finished that training, on the other side of the pipeline, we can pick them up under our employer services program. And so we have a program that's called on-the-job training. And the benefit of that program is that we can reimburse a business up to 50% of up to the first 480 hours of the new hire's wages. So using that example that we already talked about, if there were a worker at 99-cent store, laid off, came to us, went through a training to become a medical assistant, now they have taken that training that we paid for, now they're coming out with new skills. Now we hope to place them into maybe a clinic or a hospital to be a medical assistant, and we can tell the employers, hey, this individual is eligible for our programs, and we can pay the business 50% of that new person's wage for hiring them. So, we have programs that kind of, and that's just one example of how we can take somebody, the entire way to getting employed and how it benefits them and the business and to get the outcome that we're looking for.
Very nice. That's very exciting to hear. Definitely, this is the first time, I think, within the last few years that I've heard of workforce development. So the programs that you guys have is definitely needed. And we're happy that we're able to help somewhat get the word out, because people need to join and sign up, because everyone needs some sort of training to increase their knowledge, to expand their horizon, and to get them on the right track.
Yeah, especially a different job too, because a lot of people like to change careers.
Yeah, it happens a lot. I myself have changed careers a couple of times, and I myself have been laid off a couple of times too, not because of myself, but because of the different economic situations that were going on. And so I know what it's like to be going through that as an individual. Fortunately, I also own a business as well, and so I know what it's like to be a business and to employ individuals. And so the tricky part, and what I really appreciate about you having me on your platform here, is that there is this sense of unknown about the services we do, but then there's also, on the business side, we have to break down barriers of trust with businesses, because a lot of businesses, they don't trust government when it comes to their business. They don't want government getting into their business, and they kind of always think like, what are you really after, Jason? What's the catch here? What are you trying to really get into? And then there's no catch. We're here to help. There's definitely regulatory parts of government, but there's also units and departments that are advocates for business and advocates for individuals to get employed. And that's really how we see ourselves, as business advocates.
Very nice. It's good that you touched on that, because, I know certain people who are a bit cynical in their thinking. Like,
okay, why don't you really tell us what you really think,
and how much you want? That's okay, because that's how he thinks, and I'm more of a balance in that aspect. I think, what, just hear the guy out. Don't be so cynical. And he has chickens, so listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You can trust me. I have chickens.
Yeah,
that's right.
Right.
That broke down his barrier real quick.
Yeah, that's pretty much did. Yeah.
Well, it's good to know what workforce development can do for individuals. And how about businesses? You mentioned a little bit about the reimbursement factor and the training factor. That's really very encouraging. So does that apply for nonprofits as well as regular for-profit businesses?
It does. It applies for anyone that hires W-2 individuals. So because our programs are federally funded, the funding comes from the W-2 payroll taxes. So I tell businesses all the time, you're already paying for these programs. You don't even know it. When you pay your payroll of your W-2 employees, there's, if you're paying $20 an hour, it doesn't cost them just $20 an hour, right? It costs them probably $24 an hour after you add on all the different payroll taxes. That extra $4 that you're paying per individual per hour goes into, the government coffers, and they get then sent back down through programs like ours to go back into implementation into the business to benefit from. So I tell them all the time, if you're not using it, someone else is using it. So you might as well, look into using it if they are hiring individuals.
So that wouldn't apply for nonprofits that are looking for volunteers?
It wouldn't apply for volunteer work, because a lot of our mission and the outcomes we're looking for is for individuals to become self-sufficient. And we know that with the expenses of California, even though Riverside County is much more affordable than our coastal county neighbors, it's still expensive. And in order for someone to be self-sufficient in the community, they really have to be working full-time. And so our programs are really geared to individuals and businesses who are looking for full-time work, and for businesses who are hiring full-time employees.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And talking from a business standpoint, can you explain the kind of process, registration process or sign-up process a business would have to go through? Let's say a representative HR department maybe, or someone up high, obviously, would contact you guys. And then what's the process after that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when they contact us, let's say they hear this episode and they're like, you know what, that Jason guy, he has chickens and I trust him. And so, they reach out to me and they say, I heard about some of your programs, and I want to know how can I get started with it. So I would do a little, question and answer, just asking them what their business is, what they're looking to do, and where they're located. Because I have team members all around the county. The county is very large, as you know, it goes from Eastvale all the way to the Arizona border, from Riverside up here all the way to Temecula. And so we're covering a large area. So we have different team members in each of those different regions of the county that cover the area. And when a business is in a certain area, then I would put them in touch with one of my team members in that area. That team member will then reach out to them and start to collect eligibility documents to be part of, if they're looking for our wage reimbursement programs, we would need to do a collection of documentation. There's 2 eligibility points typically. Every program is a little bit different, but there is, because we do have multiple programs, but we would need to make sure that the employer is eligible, first of all. So that's just, quickly, do you have a W-9 and an EIN number? Do you have proof of workman's compensation coverage, so that making sure that employees that we place with you are covered? And then, we do ask if they've had any mass layoffs in the last 120 days. Because if they have, then, we typically don't want to put employees or potential employees into a situation that might not work out for the long term. We want to give them the best opportunity to be long-term employed with that individual. So once that employer is done that eligibility, and that typically takes only a couple days to get the paperwork and processed on our side, then every person that they are looking to hire and bring into this wage reimbursement program would need to go through an eligibility process as well. So when they are onboarding their new employee and making that offer for that position, that's when they'd want to bring in my team members to conduct eligibility to make sure that individual is eligible for our program. Eligibility typically is, are they long-term unemployed? Were they underemployed? Or were they recently laid off? That typically will give them eligibility for our programs, and if they have right to work documents. What would not be probably eligible is if somebody came from exactly the same job of a competitor and they left and just came to work for this new employer, because they were getting $1 more an hour. We're happy that they are able to get a better job. We're happy that the employer got that an employee that filled their needs, but it wouldn't qualify for our reimbursement program for those wages. So the great part is that once you come and contact us, a team member is going to work with that employer the whole step of the way, every step of the way. We're not just going to dump a bunch of paperwork on you. We're going to help you all along the way to get you through the process. And then once you get used to the process, then it's pretty easy. We have employers that are very self-sufficient, you could say, on getting everything done that they know we need to approve their potential employee.
So does that make a difference with a new business? Let's say the new business didn't have any employees, and you said that there's a process that you normally go through to actually put the employees with the employers. So if the employers didn't have no employees in any way, shape, or form, does that make a difference from you guys placing them with the new employees for like the long term?
No, we can still work with new businesses that were just maybe sole proprietors at first and they're looking to expand. They would just need to make sure that they've done all the things on their side that they need to do to bring on an employee. If they don't know what to do, maybe talking to the Small Business Development Center might be a good start, because you will need to get different insurances to make sure. You need to make sure you probably have a payroll provider to run your payroll or payroll software. But that we would work with anybody that wants to hire people full time. Obviously, every individual, every business is going to be different. So it's not like we have you have to meet all these different regulations. There are definitely some we need to meet, but we're going to take a look at everybody's situation and what they're doing and make an assessment based on each individual business and each individual employee.
Okay.
Very nice. That was a good question too, because I know probably a handful of people who would benefit from workforce development services. So I'm glad that you're talking about it from both sides, as an individual and a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the nice thing. At least I know what it's like because I kind of been on both sides of it, right? And so I'm able to kind of talk with them from experience on both sides of the coin.
Very nice. And the last question that I have is, what do people need to use your programs?
Say that one again.
Oh, what do people need to do? Sorry, what do people need to do to use your program? So to contact you and then get signed up?
Just reach out to us and let's see what your needs are and then see how we can fulfill those needs. Because, like I said, we have different programs that can help with different situations. For example, we have another program that's called transitional employment. And what that program is if you are willing as an employer, and maybe you're a small one or you're a large employer, to be the work site trainer and coach for an individual, that employer would not be the employer of record. So they would not need to have payroll for that person. They would not need to have insurance coverage for that person. We have a third-party contractor that takes care of them, but they would be the real-life coach and mentor for that person in a business and employer environment. So pretty much that business would be getting a free employee for the first 480 hours. That's 3 months of full-time work. But they're just helping to coach them on, being on time, make sure they dress appropriately, learning basic skills of a worker and what it means to be a worker. This program is for individuals that have had barriers or challenges to getting employed for whatever reason. And we're trying to give them a chance. And this is a good chance to get them employed because it's almost at no risk to the employer because we've taken away a lot of the liability of it. They just need to be, ready to bring somebody on it and kind of help them through learning on the job of what it takes to be an employee. And after the program time is done, there's no requirement to hire that individual either. We hope after 3 months that maybe if that worked out, that the business would want to bring them on, and then they can use some of our wage reimbursement programs on top of that now as when they become the employer of record. But if they choose not to hire them, well, at least they've given 3 months of experience to someone that had no experience, and they can kind of build off of that and hopefully get on a path to actually becoming employed with somebody.
That's really cool to know. What is that program name again?
That's called Transitional Employment Program.
So Mike and I, our radio stations, we're part of a Hemet,
Hemet Chamber.
Major brain fart. Thank you. Edit that
out. Don't edit that.
So our radio stations were part of Hemet San Jacinto Valley Chamber of Commerce. And I know a handful of people who they own their own business, but they don't necessarily work out of a brick and mortar. So they work out of their home remotely, whatever the case may be. So would they be able to participate in this transitional program that you're talking about?
They would be. Where remote work kind of starts to get a little sticky is if, let's say a business here is hiring somebody in Florida. We probably would not do that because that person is not a Riverside County resident, even though the business is here in Riverside County. Just like we may not do it if the business or the person being hired was a Riverside County resident but working for a New York company remotely. We'd have to look into the situation of that. But we would do it where like your radio station, if you hired somebody that was in Paris and they worked at their home, but your radio station is based out of Hemet, then that would be fine. Yeah, we definitely could do something like that, though.
What about if it was like an in-person thing too, where they go to the person's home and do the work at their house?
That would be fine as well, as long as they're a W-2 employee and you have the insurances for workman's compensation coverage, and then probably general liability over your home, commercial, and then that would be fine.
Okay.
Very nice. That's awesome. I'm glad that we were able to get some good information and hopefully get the word out about Riverside County Workforce Development and break down the barriers of trust, like what we were talking about.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we have so many different programs and services too. Like we barely scratched the surface of them. And so there's a lot more. Like say, I guess the best way to look at it from the employer side, from the business services that we have, is whatever part of the life cycle workforce that you're in, we can help with. If a business is looking to attract and recruit, we have services that can help, whether it's a job board, an HR hotline, job fairs that we do, or taking that person's job flyer and sending it out to our networks channels and to our partners or our workforce centers. We can magnify those efforts that a business is already doing, and they all come at no cost. Or if a business is looking to train or retain their current employees, we have programs and services that can help there. Or if a business is looking to downsize, which unfortunately happens at times, we have programs and services that can help in that area as well. So whatever it is, whether it's bringing people on, hiring people that they have, or downsizing, we have programs and services that can help in all parts of those life cycles.
Very nice. That's awesome.
Sure is.
Well, I'm glad we met you, Jason, and I'm glad that you're able to come on the podcast and talk to us about Riverside County Workforce Development. If you do have any other questions, feel free to contact Jason either on his LinkedIn at Jason Marshall Tang, or contact him directly on his email, jtang@rivco.org. And you can also check out Riverside County Workforce Development website at rivcoworkforce.org. Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, buck. Thank you.
Thank you both for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Mike and Phebe Show on Alternative Twist Radio. If you missed any past episodes, just search the Mike and Phebe Show or Alternative Twist Radio on any major podcast app.